Hello once again. Welcome to our next session at Pharmacircuit. So it's our pleasure to welcome Liana Kasyan. So with her impressive background on regulatory and pharmacovigilance topics. So she is the founder and CEO of ETL Pharmacovigilance Center. And besides that, she has quite expressive list of activities. So she is a member of the International Society of Pharmacovigilance. She is part of the International Editorial Board of the Journal of Pharmacovigilance and Drug Research. She's collaborating with the Faculty of Public Health at the Yerevan State Medical University, and besides that, she's also a board member of the Armenian Association of Specialists in Evidence-Based Medicine. So it's a pleasure to have you here, Liana, today.
Thank you.
And much looking forward to your presentation on the pharmacovigilance with historical evidence. So the stage is yours. Looking forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mario. Thank you for invitation, for such a great possibility to present my topic and to be with you and to listen such a great presentations. Thank you very much. Actually, previous presentations are about the advanced technologies in the pharma industry. It's really very insightful and very promising, just showing us very promising future in the field of pharma industry. My topic a bit different. I will be speaking about history of development of pharmacovigilance, and will show some historical evidence to see how this field, this science has been developed and where we are now with pharmacovigilance field. So pharmacovigilance with historical evidence. You all know that this is a science about safety monitoring of drugs. It's come from the pharmacovigilance, like pharmakon, it's Greek for medicine, and vigilare, Latin keep to watch. So this is the science about keep watching to drugs. We know that whatever we're using, would it be drug or vaccines, etc., they have two sides of impact on our health. It's good, it's benefit, and of course bad. It's like adverse event, which could be expected and unexpected. And this is all about drug effects. So what is pharmacovigilance according to the World Health Organization? This is the science and activities relating to the detection, assessment, understanding, and prevention of adverse effect or any other drug-related problems. So now a bit about historical overview of pharmacovigilance or origins of pharmacovigilance, why it is important to study history. So actually the historical phases of pharmacovigilance allow us to understand why and how pharmacovigilance helped to achieve such important results of man's health and to identify the challenges that await pharmacovigilance in future years. History should always teach not to repeat previous mistakes. That's important. And that's the reason always remember about historical facts, not to be repeated. So the history of pharmacovigilance actually started in 1937 with so-called elixir tragedy. It's about sulfanilamide disaster. So in 1937, so-called messenger company, this is pharmaceutical manufacturer, created an oral preparation of sulfanilamide using diethylene glycol, so-called DEC, as the solvent, and called the preparation as elixir sulfanilamide. So DEC is poisonous to human and other mammals, but Harold Watkins, the company's chief pharmacist and chemist, was not aware of this. Watkins simply mixed raspberry flavoring into the powdered drug and then dissolved the mixture in diethylene glycol. Animal testing was not required by law at that time, and messenger performed none. There were no regulations at the time requiring pre-market safety testing of drugs. So then the company started selling and distributing the medication in 1937. By October 11, the American Medical Association received a report of several deaths caused by that medication. The Food and Drug Administration was notified and an extensive search was conducted to recover the distributed medicine. Unfortunately, at least 100 deaths were blamed on that medication. The owner of the company infamously answered, "I do not feel that there was any responsibility on our part." Watkins, the chemist, committed suicide while awaiting trial. Congress responded to public outrage by passing the 1938 Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, which required companies to perform animal safety tests on their proposed new drugs and submit the data to the FDA before being allowed to market their products. I think you all know and heard about so-called thalidomide tragedy, which happened later on in 1957. So this was about warning the children with pharmacovigilance. So many children was born because of this really, really very, very bad story called thalidomide tragedy. So thalidomide first entered the German market in 1957 as an over-the-counter remedy based on the maker's safety claims. Actually, they advertised their product as completely safe for everyone, including mother and child, even during pregnancy, as its developers could not find a dose high enough to kill a rat. This was claimed on the product information by the manufacturers of this drug over-the-counter remedy. So in 1960, thalidomide was marketed in 46 countries, with sales nearly matching those of aspirin. So here you see like the some articles and also product information about this drug. It's called Distaval, thalidomide. So you see here non-barbituric, sedative, and hypnotic, safe sedation and sounder sleep, and such as short like introductions about that new drug with the coming to the barbiturate, death increasing because of barbiturate, and that the manufacturer like suggesting another drug which is safe alternative of barbiturate. So such kind of claims coming across these countries. So at that time, around Australian obstetrician Dr. William McBridge discovered that the drug also alleviated morning sickness in pregnancy. And he started recommending this off-label use of the drug to his pregnant patient, setting a worldwide trend to use this drug in pregnancy. However, in 1961, McBridge began to associate this so-called harmless compound with severe birth defects in the babies he delivered. The drug interfered with the baby's normal development, causing many of them to be born with phocomelia. A German newspaper soon reported 161 babies were adversely affected by thalidomide, leading the makers of the drug to finally stop distribution within Germany. Other countries followed suit, and by March 1962, the drug was totally banned in most countries where it was previously sold. Unfortunately, the result of this tragedy was 2,000 children died and more than 10,000 children born with birth defects. So now I just want to present like a bright side of all this really all this story. So at that time, FDA inspector Frances Kelsey, she was very young and just entered into FDA, just joined this company. But at that time, she really was a hero for that country because she prevented the drugs approval within the US despite pressure from the pharmaceutical company and the FDA supervisors. Kelsey felt that the application for thalidomide contained incomplete and insufficient data on its safety and effectiveness. Among her concerns was the lack of data indicating whether the drug could cross the placenta, which provides nourishment to a development fetus. So by this, she prevented the thousands of deaths and thousands of children born with disability in her country, United States. As a result of her blocking American approval of thalidomide, Kelsey was later on awarded the President Award of Distinguished Federal Civilian Service by John Kennedy in August 1962. So, based on these terrible stories about drug development, about drug selling and drug marketing, pharmacovigilance science started to be developed and to go forward with the laws and regulations and guidelines to be developed in order to somehow prevent such stories. So in 1962, Pharmacovigilance US revised law requiring to prove safety and efficacy before issuing marketing authorization of drug or vaccines or whatever. In 1963, British Committee on Safety of Drug Monitoring was established. In 1964, UK starts the so-called yellow card system implementation. This is about reporting of cases, like individual case safety reports. It's like started with UK yellow card system implementation. In 1964 to 1965, national ADR reporting systems in UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Germany, Sweden also were established. And in 1978, WHO Center moved from Geneva to Uppsala, and starting from that period till nowadays, it's functioning as the biggest center for case report of any adverse events related to the drug or vaccines. Unfortunately, although all these regulations, laws, guidelines were developed after these tragedies happened before, we still encounter with some problems with the drug selling of drugs. So this is 2009 year when paracetamol tragedy happened in Bangladesh. And at least 98 children have died after taking a paracetamol syrup tainted with a toxic chemical, according to authorities. The syrup became toxic after manufacturers replaced one of its ingredients with a cheaper alternative. The health minister said experts had conducted 2 tests on the syrup and had found diethyl glycol, a chemical normally used in textile and leather dyeing factors, on each occasion. So unfortunately, in this scenario, history doesn't teach, but it should actually, because this is important to know history and not to repeat the mistakes from the history. So why pharmacovigilance is important, why this science is still developing and still going forward with technologies and with advanced methods to provide to do drug safety monitoring. The reason is to monitor safety of drug and, if necessary, always like assess benefit and risk of drugs, and if necessary, withdraw drug from the market if it is risks are outweighed the benefits. It happened with some drugs. We talked about thalidomide when teratogenicity discovered, and after that, thalidomide returned to market for use for other indication, but contraindicated usage for pregnancy during the pregnancy. Another drug, lysergic acid diethylamide, it's marketed in 1950 to 1960 as a psychiatric drug, but was withdrawn after it became widely used recreationally. The ethyl stilbestrol was marketed in 1970. It's a female hormone estrogen. Then it was revealed that the risk of teratogenicity outweighed the benefit of this drug, and that then FDA banned the use of this during pregnancy. Fenformin, anti-diabetic drug, banned in 1978 due to high risk of lactic acidosis. Dicrenaphan, loop diuretic, banned in 1982 due to risk of hepatitis. Phenazethine analgesic, withdrawn in 1983 due to the risk of cancer and kidney disease. Zimelidine, antidepressant, banned in 1983 due to the risk of Guillain-Barré syndrome. Nomifensine, this is a marital norepinephrine dopamine reuptake inhibitor, banned in 1992 due to risk of hemolytic anemia. Resulin, anti-diabetic, banned in 2000 due to the risk of hepatotoxicity. We know the story about Vioxx or rofecoxib, when Merck withdrew this drug from the market in 1994 because it was revealed that this drug doubled the risk of heart attack and death, and more than 38,000 deaths were related to Vioxx use. So why then pharmacovigilance is necessary? So this is the scheme of drug development, which is known for everybody, I guess, who are working in the field, in any field of pharma industry. This is about preclinical animal experience, then phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, pre-market clinical trials phases, then drug registration and coming to the market, after which we know that phase 4 post-approval studies to determine specific safety issues are coming after registration after marketing drug, after the drug is registered and approved for authorization and selling. So as we see here, before marketing and before registration, actually any medicine passed these all stages, animal experiments and phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 stages with lots of clinical trials, and only then it is possible to market and authorize drug and market. But so if we will compare clinical trials pre-marketed and clinical practice or so-called real-world data, there are some differences which shows that actually post-marketing safety surveillance and safety monitoring of drugs is still necessary. So you see here clinical trials, number of patients, hundreds and rarely thousands, but real-world data show the thousands to million patients using the drug after it's marketed. So you see duration of clinical trials, weeks or months, and for real-world data, it's years of using of drugs. So for clinical trials, population is always restricted. We rarely can see clinical trials performed in pregnant, in children, or elderly people. But in clinical practice, we see all groups using the drugs, and we can gather data on usage of drugs on different populations. So actually, in clinical trials, usually concomitant medications and illness are being avoided, but in clinical practice, that's usually present, and so we can have more bigger picture of using drug and using simultaneously other medications and having comorbidities. Those is fixed in clinical trials and variable in clinical practice or in real-world data. So that's why post-marketing safety monitoring of drugs is still becoming very, very crucial. Some facts and figures. So ADRs may cause adverse drug reaction, may cause about 5,700 deaths per year in the UK. 1.3 million emergency department visits each year in the US are due to the adverse drug reactions. 340,000 people each year need to be hospitalized for further treatment after emergency visit for ADRs in the US. According to the FDA data, ADRs is the fourth leading cause of death, and 100,000 deaths per year of ADRs still, according to the FDA, happened each year. So objective of ADRs, improve patient care and safety. So it's about patient care. It's about early detection of unknown safety problems. So this is public health. Improvement of public health. This is about risk-benefit assessment, assessment of benefit, harm, and effectiveness of drug. Always benefit should outweigh the risk. In case if we see the risk coming like outweighing benefits of the drug, we should need to consider whether the drug still should be on the market or not. And of course, communication, promote understanding, clinical training to health professionals and public on the drug usage. International collaboration. The following organizations play a key collaborative role in the global oversight of pharmacovigilance. These are World Health Organization, International Council of Harmonization, the Council of Harmony, International Organization of Medical Science, so-called CIOMS, and International Society of Pharmacovigilance. Major regulatory authorities are US Food and Drug Administration, like the largest national drug regulatory authority in the world. European Union, so PV efforts in the European Union are coordinated as well known by European Medicines Agency and are conducted by the national competent authorities. In Japan, it's Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare. In Canada, it's Marketed Health Product Directorate of the Health Product and Food Branch, etc. These are the major regulatory authorities in the world. So just concluding, dying from disease is something unavoidable, but dying from an adverse drug reaction is unacceptable. So that's why pharmacovigilance is so important. And this is like just 2 words about my company. This company is just established. I decided to go forward in my career and to establish my own company. It's called ETR Pharmacovigilance Center. I'm living and operating in Armenia, in Yerevan, and will be glad to support any pharma company in case if you will need pharmacovigilance support, pharmacovigilance activities to be done. I have an excellent team working with me. We all are physicians, doctors, and our language capabilities are, of course, English and Russian is our second native language. And I will be glad to expand my network with pharma companies and to support in case if my team services in pharmacovigilance will be needed for your organization. Thank you very much for your attention. If you will have any questions, I will be happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Liana, for your presentation. It has been very interesting to see this summary of history about pharmacovigilance, and I think even more importantly, right now in these times where we see again there's a lot of misbelief, especially on the COVID-19 vaccines. Yes. About official data, about clinical studies. So I think it's a very interesting topic, which for sure is always relevant to all of us working in the pharmaceutical industry. So you also mentioned that already a little bit in your presentation. Now with the possibilities of big data, of course, of post-marketing surveillance, how do you see the role or the involvement of the regulatory system in pharmaceuticals? So I've heard over the last years a lot of criticism that it is too long, that it's too static. So do you see from your experience that something might change, that it might get a little bit more agile now with the possibilities of big data and artificial intelligence?
Yes, I think so, because the science is going forward, and machine learning, artificial intelligence, big data, of course, they will fasten the process. And that's important in pharmacovigilance, because you know that we encounter with this pandemic, with vaccine development, with all these stories, and you know how it was like we encounter with big challenges with the introduction of vaccine in the market and all these myths and misinformation on this. So yes, of course, advanced methodologies should help to fasten the processes and to fasten to have like bigger view and understanding of the whole picture of what is happening with vaccine or with drugs in the whole market. This is really very, very big advantage in pharmacovigilance, to use big data and to use artificial intelligence. And actually the workforce, the work will be of staff working in pharmacovigilance will be facilitating with the use of artificial intelligence. We are, with my team, for example, performing literature monitoring services for some regions. If we will use like some services which are advanced in these some systems, it will facilitate our work and the work of the people who are doing pharmacovigilance activities. Regulations are very strict, and the volume of work is very big to comply with these regulations. So that's why using advanced technologies is a big advantage in this field, of course.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I've also, from my experience, I've seen some companies who also support companies in the, let's say, with advanced data analysis during the clinical phases of development to see which of the sites perhaps are statistically underperforming already during the clinical trial. So I think technology and access of data, of course, will give us a lot of interesting developments here. And it's been nice to see how you combine that also with the history and where this comes from, of course. So perhaps just one last question. So where do you see the future of pharmacovigilance? So now I think we're in a turning point. You just mentioned the vaccines that have been developed very, very rapidly, and also a lot relies now on post-marketing data. So do you see this as a model for the future, also to get new drugs faster to the market?
Yes, I think so. That's important, because again, coming back to vaccines approval authorization process, you know that it was like the main concern of people. It's a fastening process of approval of these vaccines, and also some rolling review by European Medicine Agency of Drugs. used for this COVID pandemic. But this is like forced situation when you have to introduce vaccines and new drugs to combat with this pandemic. But yes, of course, if we will have advanced technologies, future pharmacovigilance advanced technologies, they will somehow bring more belief and more evidence and more data to do this faster. But from the other hand, to convince people that everything is done in proper way because of usage of this highest technology for development of the same vaccines or development of drugs, etc. Yes, of course, this will be a big advantage in the future.
So thank you very much, Liana. So it's been a pleasure to welcome you at Pharmacircuit. And hopefully, of course, if people are interested to contact with you, we will put you in contact. And of course, also looking forward to the networking sessions.
Thank you very much. It was a big pleasure to know you, to know all organizers, and presentations were really very, very great and insightful. It was a big pleasure for me to listen and to be with you today. And I wish you all the best and hope to stay in touch and to be your speaker for the other sessions as well and with the other topics. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Liana. Much appreciated. So as we are creating our community around Pharmacircuit, I'm sure we will meet soon again, very much. So thank you for being here today, and we'll connect soon. And much looking forward also to the next sessions to come. So stay tuned, and we will be back just in some moments with the next session. So thank you, Liana.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good luck. Have a nice day.
Thank you.